Hey there, you're listening to Your Life is Awesome, brought to you by Enjoy Toys, featuring true life stories about sex told by audience members at SmutSlams around the world. SmutSlam is a growing network of dirty storytelling shows founded in 2011 by me, Cameron Moore. We do our best to keep SmutSlam safe, but safe doesn't mean G-rated. Some of these stories are explicit as fuck. If you're not into that, now is a good time to get out. Otherwise, enjoy the show.
Your life is awesome! Your life is awesome!
Hello, and welcome to Your Life is Awesome, a podcast featuring stories from SmutSlam, the sex-positive community storytelling show that happens all over the goddamn world. I'm not kidding about that. I'll tell you a little more later where that actually is happening, but we do put out SmutSlams in a lot of locations. And the way we get stories for those live shows and therefore for this podcast is just by asking at the door. It's amazing. People will absolutely sign up, even if they've never been there before. I never quite understand how that works. Some people are just more daring. Some people enter into the spirit right away. I'm not sure, but it happens all the time. We get audience members coming up and telling their true life stories from everywhere. So hearing is believing. So let's go ahead and get started on this. This particular episode was recorded in Copenhagen in May 2024. It's another show on the theme of the great outdoors. When we have a slam theme that really makes people excited, of course we'll use it in other locations. For this one, people get really inspired. I'm going to share with you a little thing that I wrote to promote the event. You'll get swept away. From the windswept seashore to the sun-dappled groves to an irresistible moment on a snow-packed mountaintop. When the urge hits outside, nature finds a way. And oh, wow, did it ever. I'm sure you're going to enjoy getting into this. So just crack yourself open a cold one. Pretend like you're sitting in around a campfire. That's the best place to hear about outdoor sex stories. Get yourself a cold drink, sit in a little slightly uncomfortable lawn chair and just kick back and enjoy. In between the stories, we have fuck buckets to share with you. These are just questions and confessions that we get from the audience. It's anonymous, but it doesn't mean that it's any less strange for that. I think perhaps because it is anonymous, we definitely cover a whole lot of ground in our fuck buckets. So you're going to enjoy the whole thing. I guarantee it. Sit down, take a drink. We'll see you on the other side. Oh, God. As a teenager, I performed cunnilingus for the first time in the middle of a field in the middle of the day, surrounded by apartment buildings. Literally not a single thought in the moment went to the fact that people might be watching. Why would it? You're eating pussy for the first time. Why would you think about any damn thing? It's all just nom, 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 nom in your head. I get it. Pussy is very distracting. I mean, even if you're normally a very civic-minded person, as soon as you get your face in there, tell me I'm wrong. You cannot tell me that I'm wrong. Okay.
I had a partner once who really wanted us to fuck in the great outdoors. I had tried it before, but he hadn't. And this bothered him. My previous experience, it had been mediocre at best, so I wasn't super enthusiastic about doing it again. But I sympathized with him, and I felt for him, and I thought, I can take one for the team. So I was like, pick a place. And so one sunny spring afternoon, much like today, actually, he picked me up in his cargo bike. This is very Danish of him. And he took me to our destination. And it was, to my surprise, Vestre Kirkegård, which for you non-Danish speakers, it's a fucking cemetery. And I was like with dead people? But he assured me that he had scoped out the perfect spot. Super isolated, very romantic, lots of trees, no headstones. So I was like, all right, let's give this a shot. And he started to kiss me, and I was like, oh yeah, he was a really good kisser. And then he like pushed me up against a tree, and I was like, oh God. So that was really good. And before I knew it, his cock was out of his jeans. I was hiking the dress up, and we were just banging it out against that tree, and it was really great. But then we heard footsteps. And my partner, he's like embracing me really tightly, and like, maybe we can just make it look like we're hugging up against this tree or something. And then out of the corner of my eye, I see this like little kid with a school bag that's like twice as big as him. Yeah. Oh. And for whatever stupid reason, I made eye contact with this child. Y'all, I dried up like the fucking Sahara. Like, it was bad. And I mean, this kid, he was coming back from school. He was just passing through. And so my partner said, once he was long gone, you want to continue? And I was like, wow, okay, we're here. Okay. So he ends up coming very quickly inside of me. It was nice. But then I was like, okay, that's a wrap. And then he's like, oh, baby, I want to see you come. And I was like, okay, well, that's sweet, I guess. So I really tried to get back into it, but I wasn't there. And he was doing all my favorite things with his fingers and with his tongue. And I was just like, it's not going to happen. But then I wanted it to happen for him. So I faked it, y'all. Aww. I did. Yeah, I know. He bought it. And then we're walking back to the cargo bike, and he said to me, can we take a selfie to mark this momentous occasion? I was like, okay. So I looked at this picture recently, and I can just see he is fucking glowing. He's beaming with pride. And my face is harder to read. It could be the face of somebody who really wanted to do something nice for their partner, but then completely forgot about their own needs and wants in the moment. And yeah, I have since had some really great experiences in the great outdoors. Very awesome, in fact. But the difference being, well, minus the absence of a prepubescent and everything, was that I was more in tune with my actual needs. Sometimes I came, sometimes I didn't come, but no more faking it. I wasn't taking one for the team anymore. No, I was taking one for me.
Yeah!
That's it.
I fully appreciate the introspection that went into like that story, because like that happens. That okay, first of all, faking it really does happen. I have done it once or twice. But always when someone is telling that kind of story, and if they don't say anything about it, I'm like, you know that was a bad idea, right? And you're doing a disservice to anyone else who's getting fucked, who's got a vagina. Like, you realize that this is a disservice. And everybody knows it, but you built that into the story, and I appreciate that. Another round of applause, please. I am currently trying hard not to flirt with someone who is my friend's ex and wife's friend, and it is killing me. I mean, the good news is it's not killing you. You're not going to die. It's just going to feel like you're dying for sometimes. It's okay. I get it. Wow. Should I do one more?
Yes!
She says with her hand in the bucket. Stop bargaining with me here. Okay. Do more. Thrice more. Okay. Oh, bless you. SmutSlam has become the highlight of my month. Thank you! ! Heart. Wow. No pressure for me to be on all the fucking time. Thanks. Okay, no, we're good.
Last year at the SmukFest, which is the most beautiful festival in Denmark, and can also really set the mood, if you understand. I have a festival girlfriend. We only meet in at one festival, and then we don't see each other most of the year, and then we meet up next year. So I was hanging out. I am not drinking anymore, which means that I go early to the shows, and I see everything from like noon and then until I can't stand anymore. And then I got a text message. She was like, "Where are you? I'm all alone right now, and I need someone to hang out with." And I'm like, "I'm down by one of the stages. You should really come hang out with me, and it's also not very far from my tent." And then she replied, "That's very lucky because I'm pretty horny." So I waited there for her, and it actually took quite a while because I think maybe she had one drink or two, but it was hard for her to find it. And keep in mind, this is the first concert. We are talking 2 in the afternoon or something. So it's, you should be able to see everything. But finally she shows up, and I'm like, "So were you interested in seeing my tent?" And she was like, "I'm very interested in seeing the tent." So we went to the tent. We walked in. We didn't really notice that next to our tent was a large group of people sitting, having their pre-concert beers. So we just went into the tent, and we got it on. And she's a kinky person, I'm a kinky person, so it was loud and it was very nice. And I also remember at one point she was like, I was pulling her hair and I was biting her, and she says to me at one point, she says, "If you keep doing that, I'm going to squirt in your tent." And if you know festivals tents, they have this the plastic that you lie in, it goes up. So I was like thinking I should probably stop, because otherwise I would have like a basin of squirt that I would later have to navigate around. So I was like, okay, I will stop doing that. Please turn around and put your ass up. Which she complies with and does. And we go for the finale, where we just go. And there are no sound barriers in a tent. So the group sitting outside must have thought either they are fucking really hard or they are super excited about something inside of the tent. So we come, both of us, I have to say, I come the loudest, which means that when we go out, the whole group is looking at us, and one of the girls says, "She didn't come." And I was like, how do you know? I was hard at work in here. And then one of the other girls asks, "Is this even your tent?" And I, of course, just says, "No, is it yours? We just picked one." It was my tent, but I'm still thinking. So this group, one of them is thinking, this is not their tent, and nobody does anything when 2 people are just like tearing this tent apart from the inside. But no, it was very nice. The problem then afterwards is that we do this in the beginning of the festival. And there are a few more days left of the festival. And for the next few days, every time I approach my tent or I leave my tent, this group announces, "Here comes Bollemanden." Extremely loud every time. So that was my outdoors kinky story. Thank you.
What was that last word? What is Mr. What? The fuck man. Amazing. Amazing. I want to steal something that you said as a button for SmutSlam. I think loud and very nice is a good tagline for SmutSlam, right? Loud and very nice. I once had sex with a guy in the toilets at a bar. It's classic, for a reason. After we finish and walk out, he proceeds to introduce me to his parents, who were also at the bar. That is bold. That is bold. That is definitely a Mr. Fuckman kind of bold. I always wanted to experience how it feels to squirt, but it never happened until a few weeks ago when I took a class in the subject, and the instructor was a pro. I came and it was wet, and I want to tell all of my friends, but now I get to tell you guys.
In my 20s, I was backpacking in South America. And I don't know if anyone else been backpacking in South America. Yeah, some couple, yeah. So for me, it was a lot of hostels and men at that time. So this story is about Nico with the beautiful eyes. So I ended up in this fisher village in Uruguay, where there was no electricity, so it was very dark and very silent. And we came quite late one evening, me and a friend I was traveling with, and we settled in this beautiful, picturesque hostel by the sea. It was on a little cliff, and then you went a little slope, and then you had a sea down there. And we ended up going out to a little bar this evening. And I had learned a couple of phrases in Spanish, but not very much. And in Uruguay, we got a lot of guapa for free. Every time you bought a beer, you got a little shot on the side. And every shot I got a bit more better at speaking Spanish. And it was this guy I had looked at for some time, and then I got more and more into like, okay, I heard he only spoke Spanish, and then I got more and more into like, okay, I have the courage to come up now and speak some Spanish body language. Yeah, we started talking, and my friend went away, and me and Nico kind of wandered off. The nice, not so nice thing about living in a hostel is usually there's dorms, and in this case it was. So we couldn't go home. So we found this little patio, and I lay down, and it looked nice, but it was concrete. So I was like, oh, no, this is not really, it's cold, and yeah. So we ended up going to the grass. And imagine, this is a village without any light pollution. So looking up, I was lying down very softly, slowly on my back, and then looking up at this beautiful sky and stars. I've never seen anything alike. And then Nico comes over me, and I feel the pressure of his body, and this grass was not like the Norwegian grass I'm used to. That is soft and nice. It was cut straight off and standing straight up. So when Nico pushed down on my body, on my very sunburned back, I started screaming, and not the nice kind of screams. So I said goodbye to the stars, and I went on top. And then, that was much better, for me at least. And you kind of forget that it's silence around you when you're very into something. And here also, I'm not the most silent type. And then rounding up with Nico, kind of saying we were going to meet the next day, I think. And then I went back to my hostel. He was living in a different place. And going into the door of the hostel, and it's like, and it was all quiet in there. Going up to my room, into the dorm, you get some looks, coming in late, and then I lie down in my bed, take a breath, and I'm like, wow, I can hear the waves from here. Oh, I can hear the waves from here. And those looks that I got was like, maybe not because I'm late, but also maybe because it was a bit noisy out there. To wrap this up, I went for a walk with my friend the next day, and Nico came walking the other way on this little round trip. And my Spanish had vanished. So seeing him again and then trying to like give a hug and kind of reconcile or have some side of communication was not so nice. Hangover, my body in Spanish had kind of disappeared, and we walked a bit like, you know, teenagers next to each other, and then we kindly parted ways, and I didn't see Nico with beautiful eyes again. Yes, that was my
I mean, outdoor sex is just never comfortable, right? There's always going to be some fucking thing. A bug or lots of bugs or mud or grass that's going to fucking shoot through you like a javelin from the other side. I'm amazed that you got the good experience out of it. It's hilarious to me because, of course, I have experienced how much better I get in languages when I'm a little drunk. Isn't that funny? And it's not that you get better in language, it's that you just are more willing to risk shit. And that in itself is going to make you feel more fluent, and that's going to make you want to communicate more. You're not getting in your own damn way. And I can't recommend getting tipsy in order to do something that you're afraid of, but it is a truth, universally acknowledged, that drunk language is just, you're better at it. It's true. It's true. Dang it. Last weekend, I borrowed my friend's car to go on a family visit. On the way, we wanted to fuck in the great outdoors. We spent 1 hour driving through the woods, 6 minutes fucking, and 2 hours cleaning the car inside and out. Do you know exactly what a Tesla is recording? Oh, no. No. I don't know. Good heavens. Within a 24-hour period, a normal work day, I had 3 different men come inside me. I didn't wash myself out after any of them. It just kept piling up in me. Wow. Okay.
This is 2 years ago, freshly in a poly relationship and exploring things, and I meet someone on a dating app. This is someone who, unfortunately for them, had recently finished a relationship with someone, but they were still living in the same place. But nevertheless, we had a lot of fun talking and chatting, but it was a little difficult to meet up. So this went where these things often go, and we were very smoothly into some sexting, right? And actually, this does get to the outdoors eventually. Sorry, there's a little bit of lead up. But that was very fun, you know, some games. One, I was moving house, and for every box I unpacked, there was another item of clothing that came off on the next message.
Yes.
And eventually, we finally found the time to go on a date to a well-known local board gaming cafe, which I'm sure the local Copenhagens will know. Where the games continued. Every round of a particular game, one of us went to the bathroom, the loser, and the sexting continued. And sex are fun. They're like a little future present to each other, right? There's the immediate thing that you get, but it's also a little bit of a, this is where we're going to go. This, if it all goes right, is what you're going to get in the future. And so we finished this date, our first date. You never know where things are going to go on the first date, no presumptions. But we found ourselves outside of the well-known board gaming cafe. Not quite wanting to go home yet. Wanting to stay together. So we had a little wander around in the dark, sit down on a bench, a quiet kiss. Suddenly it wasn't private enough. Where can we go? My place. My main partner was there, so that was out of bounds. Her place, obviously, her ex-partner was there. And I'd heard a good story, a good experience that someone had had in Østeranlæ. For those that know it, right next to Østerport Station, very bright on the extremities, gets dark quite quickly as you go in. So we went up there and ventured into the park. This was maybe getting on for 1, 2 in the morning. And surprisingly large number of people in Østeranlæ at 1 or 2 in the morning, I've got to say. Which was both good and bad. The bad is there's a lot of people around. The good is that it becomes very much like your first teenage experience. A lot of fear, a lot of trepidation, a lot of hand stuff. And we had a great time, an absolutely great time, in between people walking their dogs and a gang of teenagers drinking and that sort of thing. But then the inevitable happened. It gets to 2:30, 3, and we feel that, well, we have to go home. There's nowhere else to go. We can't go anywhere else. We've had some fun, but these little presents of the future sit. But that was it. We tried to arrange some more dates, but inconveniently every time something would come up with her partner and we never quite connected again and slowly drifted apart as these things do and never really had the second date. But we did have this fun teenage resurgence in Østeranlæ to remember, and that's my story.
Yeah. I love when people say local place names and then you hear the audience go, It's there in the collective consciousness. Everyone knows it. And that's the funny thing about those places like Lover's Lane. All the lovers are going there. Oh, you're all fucking around in the same places. Go for it. It's going to turn into an orgy. It'll be great. They say AFAB, assigned female at birth, have mostly had sex with people with vaginas. And even though I love dicks in theory, I find it rather intimidating to imagine sex with dicks because it makes me feel so lost. So this person is not asking for advice. I generally make it a point not to give advice unless someone asks for advice. I will say that I have been in the same position when I first started dating cisgendered dudes after like 8 years of being in a lesbian relationship with someone with a vagina. I was so lost. But the cute thing was, right, I just embraced the awkwardness. So a blowjob that otherwise would just start out with like, sweet, going into town on a blowjob, I'd spend an extra couple of minutes down there just going like, What happens if I do this? What if I do that? Now, I didn't say this out loud. I didn't want the people I was with to think like, whoa, she's never had any experience. Because I had, but I was drunk most of the time. So I was trying to remember. And so I would just, and then after a while, it's like the people who were okay with me not being confident were the ones who would stick around. The ones who were like, I want someone to be going to town on. It's like, I'm not that person. Bat. Like, I'm not that bat. Like, I just feel like, seriously, like, ooh, look, your scrotum skin just kind of crawls around itself. Right? The skin just kind of shifts. Tell me I'm wrong. You cannot tell me I'm wrong. Scrotal skin is like a weird, it's got a mind of its own just around the balls. So my point is like, so I feel you on that one. It's terrifying because it wasn't like anything I had ever really done. But then I just went ahead and embraced the sort of learning opportunities for it. And it turned out to be fine. So you be fine.
Around 15 years ago, I did a lot of work within student politics, and part of that work was going to conferences around Europe. And the first big one of those conferences I went to, I met this woman from Holland, and I was very focused back then on I was there with a purpose. I was representing the organization. I was not there as a person. I was not going to get involved with anyone, and just gets awkward. And I flew out of the window, and it's kind of hard for me to explain what happened, it was one of those weird. We looked at each other and knew that I think something's going to happen here. And I thought in the beginning I was like, oh, this is just me, but sort of became clear that no, this is not just me. And she had the same feeling. No, I'm here to be professional. I can't have this thing sort of happening, but you know, it's young people going to student conferences, so we work until 2 in the night, and then we get drunk and only sleep for 3 hours. So about like the third or fourth night, we end up in a hallway in this brightly lit, I think it was Romanian hotel, and ended up kissing, and I'm fingering her, and it's like, this might end badly. We're in a hallway, we're going to go to my room. My roommate enters while we're about to have sex. It gets very awkward, all these sort of things. The point is that we connected this first time, and we sort of kept in touch, and it was weird to me because I usually don't fall for people this hard just meeting them. I mean, it's fine, it happens, but it sort of confused me. What's all this about? And we sort of kept seeing each other at these conferences like a couple of times a year maximum, and I think she held on to the professionalism more than I did. Because I'm sort of a 0 to 60 sort of person, so I'm like, I'm going to be professional. Now I'm into you, I want to kiss you all the time. Now I think it's fine. She was like, maybe not all the time, not in front of people. And to be fair, looking back, I probably wasn't fully conscious of how it would impact her differently as a woman being seen with a man at these conferences that it wouldn't be. So I mean, all's fair for that. But so we kept sort of seeing each other at these conferences, and sometime during that sneaking off, like maybe on the back of a stage, trying to find some place to just sit and just kiss a lot. We just sat down and kissed, and we really got really emotional about it, and also like a bit confused. Why is this so intense? What is this? Why are we? I mean, what is this? So after about 1.5 years, it was in December. We were on a conference on Malta, which is warmer than Copenhagen. That's going to become relevant. And we'd, as usual, snuck off a couple of times for some kisses and stuff like that. So the last night, the week's conference is over, and it ended in the night, around midnight or later than that, and all our planes home were in the next morning. Like, oh, now we have this time. So there's a lot of partying. We go to an after party in one room, hotel staff throws us out, we get to another room, hotel staff throws us out again, and we're like, hey, it's 5 o'clock in the morning, the sun is rising. So we're going down to the ocean. A lot of people, just keep on going with the party and drinking, having fun. And at one point, me and her, again, I don't say sneak off, but we wander off and we walk hand in hand in the sunrise over the Mediterranean, again in December, which is wild for me as a Danish person, actually not, being snowed in December. And we find a place to lie down, and we lie down, and we kiss, and it's very nice, and it's very romantic. And she's on top of me, fully clothed, just kissing. And at some point, she looks at me and says, "Did you get a bit too comfortable down there?" And I answer, "I think I did." And the reason we had that conversation is because I fell asleep. So this woman that I spent way too much time thinking about in my day, I have this one opportunity in a beautiful... Now, it's not the end of everything we keep saying each other, but I just remember this notion of her looking at being like, yeah, you probably need to stand up, don't you? Like, yeah, I probably need to do that. But then we went down to the breakfast cafe. We stole some trays of melon, and we went to the pool and swam around with them, and that was lovely as well. So it all ended up fine.
Because falling asleep is not always a bad thing. It means that you're comfortable, and and you love the feeling. And but it can feel in the moment like, come on now, our plane is leaving in 3 hours. That's amazing. Oh, I see. It said it's BJ and like blowjob and BJ and, but it's put together. I'm like, Jano, what is that? Okay, so this one time at band camp, no, just kidding. They wrote this. It's not me. Okay, so there's one time at band camp, Joe, just kidding. During a hike in a national park in Sweden, my partner and I found this great viewpoint. I thought it was the perfect place for a blowjob and convinced my very shy and timid partner, promising that nobody would see. Cut to me on my knees with his dick in my mouth and a huge group of tourists on horseback arriving to see the view. No bueno. Fucking, that's the bomb. Me and my partner's sex life has been in a bit of a hiatus recently, but the dry spell was broken this Saturday morning when I was fingered in my dad's Winnebago. By my partner, that is what they said, yes. Yes? What's a Winnebago? Like as a euphemism.
Hi, I just want to start saying this is my first time here at SmutSlam, so I'm a bit nervous to like stand up here and talk, but it will probably be fine.
You're awesome.
Okay, so I want to tell you, I moved here to Copenhagen like 3.5 years ago. I'm from Esbjerg, and before that I lived in Råhuset. I matched with this guy on Tinder, and we started kind of like sexting. It's not my thing usually, but we did that. I don't know what happened, but yeah. And then I found out that he lived here in Copenhagen. And it kind of died because I lived in Aarhus. Then I got a boyfriend, and he moved to Copenhagen. So I moved over here with the boyfriend. Then he broke up with me on the day I moved here. Yes. So I was kind of like, okay, I just want to go out there and have sex, just like get over him. So I started to like remembering this guy I was texting with who lived here in Copenhagen. So I texted him again, and he was like, yeah, let's meet up, and like, yeah. So the first time we wanted to meet, we both lived with roommates, so we didn't want to meet up like at our homes. So he picked me up in his car, and I don't know why I did that, because it's kind of like scary to meet up with a guy in a car for the first time, just like. But we did. I felt safe. So we drove in his car down to a forest in Råhuset, if anybody knows that. And we had sex in the car and outside the car in the forest, like in the middle of the night. It was nice. So we kind of like kept having sex many times after that. Yes. So the good story is also an outdoor story. He moved like 1 hour away from Copenhagen, and he picked me up at a station. I drove with a train for an hour. He picked me up at a station, and yeah, we drove to his place in like a farm. He was renting a place at a farm, and in the middle of nowhere, he just stopped the car, and we just had sex like outside there. And I wasn't prepared. I didn't know this was going to happen, so it's kind of like, whoa, what's going on here? And we drove to his place, and we went inside the apartment, and he took all my clothes off. I just had my panties on, and then he just left without saying anything, and I was just sitting there like, what is going on? Like, what the fuck? I was sitting there for 10 minutes, I think, and then he came in, and he like tied my hands and took me outside. And he took me outside to the barn and like tied my hands to the like ceiling. And I was just standing there in the barn, and there was candle lights everywhere. And like, I was like, what am my experience right now? And he started like fingering me. And that was the first time ever I squirted like 5 times. Yes. And that's the end of the story.
I feel like it's probably not the end of the story, but I'm not a rural person. I'm not a country person, but I feel strongly that candle in barn. Right? Am I right? That should not be. So, let's talk about fire safety next time. There was no hay. Just an empty barn, a sex barn. It was a sex barn. A sex barn where you put candles and it's okay because there's no hay. Or barnyard animals sitting there in judgment on you. Just going, Humans are weird. And someone put out that candle. Amazing. Amazing! Oh, God. I love how the room erupted into a boo for the guy who broke up with you when you moved here. Fuck that guy. What's a fun and open way to ask if I can introduce my vibrator to the guy I'm seeing while still keeping it sexy? Like, I'm sorry, that's cheesy. I feel that telling someone straight up, like, we're having a good time in here, I have something that I think we would both like. That's sexy. Being direct doesn't make it not... It's a matter of personal taste. I get it. I'm all in favor of saying, I love fucking you, or I love it when you fuck me. There's a thing I want to try. When you want to try it, trusting someone is sexy. And bringing something into your space is sexy. Don't get caught up in being like, I want to be suave about it. Like, the only way that people are suave about it are in scripted movies where there's a fucking script, all right? Like, that's how you're suave, and you can somehow do things in a pretty way. Like, just say it. I think you're hot, and this thing is going to make your eyeballs fucking roll in the back of your head, all right? That's for me is what I would say. So thank you. Yeah. I'm not trying to be dismissive. I know it's nerve-wracking to have these conversations, but it's less nerve-wracking to just say what you want. I guarantee it. Long run. Okay. Last night, I painted a beautiful sexual self-portrait. Instead of using paint, I used my own period blood. Amazing. The biggest orgasm I had without the love of my life was with a squash the size of a baseball bat. I started sobbing. It was so intense. And then I was laughing at the ridiculousness of having the biggest vegetable I'd ever seen inside of me. That shit. Okay, like summer squash, all that stuff, that's kind of dangerous too, right? Because it's got like prickly bits on it. In my experience, you better wash that off before you go sticking it up you. What did I tell you? What did I tell you? The great outdoors is just like a theme that keeps on giving. Everyone wants it. Everyone tries it. And this, as you heard, was the fantastic result. So excited. Thank you so much for listening along with us today. I have a few favors to ask of you. If you have time and you love this show, which if you're listening this far, you probably do, leave us a review. You can take just 3 minutes and go to Apple Podcasts or Spotify, find the show there and leave a quick review and rating. It definitely helps us a ton to reach more people. The algorithm and the reviews just keep pushing things around. We want to be right there in the middle of the fray. If you want to know how we create a safer space at our shows, you can read our full code of conduct. That's at SmutSlam.com @code of conduct. If you're ever thinking about coming to SmutSlam, the live show, you're going to want to know that ahead of time. Super, super important. We take our responsibility seriously for containing an exciting, educational, and still, as I said, safer space. I want to give special shout out for the Copenhagen show. We've got a great support team there. Stevie T, we got Anna, and of course Anya from DMask, which is our toy sponsor, our prize sponsor there. So lots of love to them, and to Råhuset, which is the venue. You know what? I'm not sure you're going to catch that because Danish is really tricky. Anyway, Råhuset, they do amazing things for us every month right there in Copenhagen. Big shout out to the folks who make that particular show fly. We want to put out more episodes of Your Life is Awesome a month, and we could really use your help with that. You can join the Patreon for early and extended episodes when we offer more kind of behind the scenes recordings and videos. You're going to see those as well. Just join us at patreon.com/yourlifeisawesome. We could really use your support there. Now, the live shows, yes, like I said, they're everywhere. Or they're a lot of places. They're not everywhere. We are but humans. I am but mortal. And, you know, we can't be everywhere, but we are in a lot of places. And I wanted to let you know where that is. We have coming up on September 12th, we've got shows in Barcelona. That's me hosting that. And then in Winnipeg also, Didi Brazier runs that particular show, and it's fantastic. So that's on September 12th. On September 16th, I'll be back in Berlin hosting our last Garden Slam of the season. September 21st, Diva Darling is shaking the fuck bucket there in Baltimore, September 21st. September 27th, I'll be in Heidelberg, and the very next day, I'll be in Mannheim. That's all happening there in Germany, so let your German friends know. And then October 1st, host Victor Victrola is running the SmutSlam in the Boston area at the Somerville Armory. On the 2nd of October, I kick off my next round of the kind of Baltic Poland route. We're back in Tallinn on October 2nd. This is co-produced by Feministerium as part of their day honoring the pursuit of better, more just consent laws in Estonia. So we are doing a consent-based show on October 2nd in Tallinn. October 4th, I'll be in Tartu. October 6th in Riga, and October 8th in Vilnius. So if you've got friends over in those necks of the woods, you want to get them a holler and let them know I'm coming their way. Now, if you want to find out, if you're in Berlin and you want to see me doing not a SmutSlam show, I'll be telling a story, probably dirty, at Witch Hunt at the Comedy Cafe in Berlin. So that's September 14th. I'll be there just doing a regular gig. If you're in Berlin, I'd love to see ya and say hi. That's it for now. We got lots more in the works. But, you know, we can only pack it in so much for these episodes. So let your friends know about this episode. Let them know about the live slams. Keep on making good, awesome, consensual, exciting stories for yourself. And until then, see you next time. Remember, your life is awesome.
This has been Your Life is Awesome, a story podcast from SmutSlam with Cameron Moore. Produced by me, Mark Seistedt. Music by Sticky Biscuits. A huge thank you to all storytellers featured. All stories are being shared with permission. Thanks also to Enjoy Toys, makers of deluxe stainless steel instruments of pleasure, for continually supporting SmutSlam. Find them at enjoytoys.com. If you want to help us make more of these, plus get access to longer episodes and other bonus material, please join our Patreon at patreon.com/yourlifeisawesome. If that's not in the cards right now, you can also help by rating and reviewing this show. Look for that option in your podcast app. We might read out some reviews on a future episode. Got a question for Cameron? Write or send a voice recording to smutslampodcast@gmail.com. This too might be featured on the podcast. And if you want to find out more about SmutSlam and the code of conduct we use in the shows, go to smutslam.com. All links mentioned can be found in the podcast info. Thanks for listening.